I found out my girlfriend was cheating during our Europe trip. To start off, I had paid for most of the trip. She helped financially by paying for some hotel stays and some meals while we were out there. The trip was my idea partly to celebrate my birthday and Valentine's Day. I discovered she was cheating on me because, while in Madrid, we had an argument after a night out drinking. The bar we were at closed during halftime of the Super Bowl. Upon closing, one of the employees got on top of a chair and started yelling at everyone to follow him to a bar around the corner. Apparently, it was another bar owned by the same owner that was remaining open to watch the rest of the Super Bowl. When that happened, we agreed to just go back to our hotel and watch the remainder on my phone while in bed. However, she needed to use a restroom since we were getting told to leave the bar. I told her they probably wouldn't let her use it, and I asked if she could hold it for 5 minutes while we walked to our hotel room. She said yes, but insisted that we had to hurry. So I rushed out of the bar with her, navigating our way to the hotel. During our walk, she asked to see my phone so she could watch the Super Bowl halftime show. While I was still rushing and waiting for her as she got distracted watching the show, we missed a green light, causing us to wait for some traffic to pass before crossing the intersection. When we finally got to our hotel, we rushed in. In the elevator, she started saying she couldn't hold it anymore. As soon as the elevator doors opened, she rushed out, slammed the door to the restroom, and almost fell over the toilet, making a loud noise at 3 a.m. She didn't make it and peed on herself slightly. I got upset but didn't say anything. I just nodded my head in disappointment and we started arguing. She blamed it on me, saying that I forced her to come back to the hotel and that everything was my fault. The receptionist even came upstairs during our argument and told us to be quiet and have respect for the guests that were sleeping. She had also spilled her drink all over the halls while running to the restroom, so I apologized, cleaned up the mess, and went into our bedroom. When I got in, she was really mad and drunk, telling me I was in a hole and that it was my fault. After I explained to her how we were forced out, she took forever to walk to the hotel, going back and forth about whose fault it was. I just decided to accept it and take the blame for the sake of the trip. She then walked out and said she needed to talk to her mom. She tells her mom everything, even our relationship issues. I told her to stop, but she decided to come back in and put the Super Bowl game on her phone. She watched it until she fell asleep. During that time, I used the restroom, showered, and got ready for bed. When I was finally done, she was sleeping, but her phone was unlocked in the bed. She was completely knocked out. Out of curiosity, I went through her phone, which I never do, to see if she told her mom anything about us. She texted her mom that she was breaking up with me after the trip. She told her that I was boring and that her ex-boyfriend from many years ago was better. She also mentioned another guy, an old coworker. This guy I had met before, and she had told me they were just friends. They still work at the same company, just at different locations. I proceeded to look up the messages with him. Mostly they were regarding work, but then I came across messages where she invited him over to her place. Some messages were either missing or they called each other, so I can't be 100 sure she cheated. However, her telling her mom that he's better for her and seeing messages where she invites him over is enough, right? I haven't said anything about it. I have kept quiet since we still have a week left on our Europe trip, so I'm pretending everything is okay. She also told her mom that she's going to have me keep paying for everything, so now I'm letting her pay for more things. The next day, she deleted the messages with her mom. I saw it because she sent a picture to her mom and showed me her messages briefly while showing the picture she sent. My plan is to pretend I know nothing, enjoy the rest of the trip, have her spend more money, and break up with her once we get back. Am I in the wrong? Let's see how the community reacts. First up, blunt, but not malicious. My tone may be off-putting, but I'm not trying to hurt you. You should break up now. Tell her she can find her own accommodation and return home. Either way, it won't be on you." Someone else chimes in. "Came here to say this. She wants to use you for the rest of the trip and dump you. Dump her now so she can't enjoy the rest of your trip." One more person says, "Right on, buddy. Also, please use protection if you sleep with her. I'm sorry you're going through this right now. I'd be devastated. I'm currently in Barcelona on a Euro trip with my girlfriend for her birthday and Valentine's Day. I'd be heartbroken if I found some crap like that. Talk about some halftime drama. She couldn't hold her secrets any better. What would you do? Would you stay and pretend all is okay?" So much for happily ever after. For our next stop, it's more like caught you red-handed. Now get lost. Update: as the sun rose over the picturesque streets of Barcelona, the air felt thick with tension for him. He sat on the edge of the hotel bed, the remnants of their argument still fresh in his mind. The events of the previous night had unfolded like a surreal nightmare, and now he was left grappling with a mix of betrayal and resolve. They had flown all the way to Europe to celebrate his birthday and Valentine's Day, but now each moment felt tainted. He replayed the scene in his head, the drunken argument that had spiraled into chaos, her accusations, and the heart-wrenching discovery that shattered the trust they had built over their years together. While she was asleep, the knowledge gnawed at him, a constant reminder that their relationship had been built on a fragile foundation. The following day he decided to put his plan into action. After spending the morning pretending everything was normal, he felt a wave of determination wash over him. They ventured out to explore the vibrant streets, the beauty of the city around them contrasting sharply with the turmoil within him. As they strolled through bustling markets and quaint cafes, he found himself studying her, searching for any sign of guilt or remorse. But she seemed carefree, laughing and joking as if nothing had changed. It was infuriating. Each time she reached for his hand or leaned in for a kiss, he felt a pang of resentment. How could she act so oblivious after what he had learned? That night they joined a group of friends at a local tapas bar, and she insisted on ordering the most extravagant dishes. He watched her laughter light up the room, her carefree spirit a stark contrast to the darkness brewing inside him. It was clear she was trying to mask the tension. The facade was almost convincing. As the days passed, he allowed her to pick up more of the expenses as he had planned. She seemed to revel in this newfound financial independence, blissfully unaware of the underlying motivations behind his actions. They visited stunning landmarks, walked along the beach, and even enjoyed a sunset cruise. But for him each experience was marred by thoughts of the betrayal. He was acutely aware of the clock ticking down to their return home. On their last day in Europe, the weight of their unresolved issues loomed large. As they prepared for their final dinner together, he felt a sense of finality wash over him. Sitting across from her at a quaint restaurant, he could see the sparkle in her eyes as she shared stories of their adventures. She looked beautiful, and a part of him longed to reach across the table and tell her everything was okay. But he couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. After dessert, as they walked back to the hotel, he finally decided it was time to confront her. They strolled along the vibrant streets, the city lights twinkling like stars above them. He took a deep breath. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice steady yet soft. Her smile faded slightly as she sensed the gravity in his tone. They found a quiet corner away from the bustling crowds, and he faced her, searching her eyes for any hint of understanding. "I know what you've been saying about me, about us," he began, feeling the weight of his words. Her expression shifted to one of confusion and concern. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "I saw the messages to your mom. I know you've been talking about breaking up after this trip. I know about him too," he said, feeling a surge of anger and hurt wash over him. "You've been telling me you love me, but behind my back you've been planning to leave me for someone else." The silence that followed was deafening. Her face drained of color, and he could see the panic rise in her eyes. "I didn't mean it like that," she stammered, but he could hear the cracks in her facade. "Didn't mean it. You invited him over. You told your mom I'm boring," he exclaimed, the frustration bubbling over. "You acted like nothing happened while I was right there with you, paying for everything." "I'm sorry, I just got caught up in the moment," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "It was stupid, I was drunk, and I didn't think—" "No, you didn't think," he interrupted, feeling a mix of hurt and relief. "You thought it was okay to cheat on me and then act like everything was fine." They stood there in the cool night air, the weight of their relationship hanging between them like a heavy shroud. As he looked into her eyes, he realized that this was no longer the person he wanted to be with. The connection they had was irrevocably broken. "I can't do this any more," he finally said, his voice firm. "We need to end this. I can't trust you. I deserve better." Tears welled in her eyes, but he felt an odd sense of peace wash over him. She reached out, grasping his arm, as if trying to anchor him to her. "Please don't do this," she begged. "We can work it out. I love you." "I loved you too, but it's clear that wasn't enough," he replied, pulling away from her grasp. "I can't stay with someone who doesn't respect me or our relationship." As he turned away, he felt a mix of sadness and liberation. He walked back to the hotel alone, the vibrant city buzzing around him, but within him was a sense of clarity. The heartbreak was painful, but he knew he was making the right choice. Once back in the hotel, he began packing his things, each item representing a memory, a moment that had led him to this point. It was time to reclaim his life and start anew. As he finished, he glanced at her one last time. She was sitting on the bed, staring into space, the reality of their situation settling in. He didn't need to say anything more, the decision had been made. The next morning he left for the airport, heart heavy yet resolute. As he boarded the plane, he felt the weight of the world lift off his shoulders. He was ready to embrace the unknown, to start a new chapter of his life free from betrayal and deceit. In that moment, as the plane took off, he knew he would be okay. He had faced the truth, made a difficult choice, and although the journey ahead was uncertain, it was his to navigate. And for the first time in a long while, he felt a glimmer of hope for the future. Final update. As the weeks passed after their tumultuous breakup in Barcelona, he found himself navigating a wave of emotions: relief, sadness, and a newfound sense of freedom. Back home, he began to process the events that had unfolded during their trip. Initially, he felt lost without her presence. Their relationship had consumed a significant part of his life. He spent time with friends, immersing himself in activities he had once enjoyed but had set aside. He rediscovered his passion for photography, capturing moments around the city that felt vibrant and alive, each click of the camera serving as a reminder that beauty still existed in the world. He also took time for introspection. He reflected on what had gone wrong in the relationship and what he truly wanted moving forward. The hurt of her betrayal was still a thorn in his heart, but he began to see it as an opportunity for growth. He realized he deserved someone who valued him, who would communicate openly and honestly, and who would never think to betray him. A few months later, while scrolling through social media one evening, he stumbled across a post from an old friend he hadn't seen in years. She was hosting a local art exhibit, showcasing her work as a painter. A spark of curiosity ignited within him, and he decided to attend. As he wandered through the gallery admiring her pieces, he felt a sense of excitement and connection that had been absent for so long. To his surprise, they struck up a conversation. She was warm and genuine, sharing stories about her art and her journey since they last met. Their laughter echoed through the gallery, and he felt an undeniable chemistry. Unlike his previous relationship, over the following weeks they spent more time together, exploring local parks, enjoying coffee at quaint cafes, and attending art shows. He felt a spark of hope blossoming within him, a feeling he hadn't anticipated so soon after the breakup. This new relationship was refreshing, It was grounded in trust and honesty, a stark contrast to what he had experienced before. As they continued to date, he found himself more open and vulnerable, ready to share his thoughts and feelings. She listened intently, never dismissing his past experiences, and instead encouraging him to embrace his emotions. It felt liberating to be with someone who valued transparency and communication. One sunny afternoon, while walking through a picturesque park, as he snapped the photo, she stood beside him, her smile warm and inviting. He turned to her, feeling a rush of gratitude for the journey he had been on. "Life can be unpredictable," he said, looking into her eyes. "But I'm grateful for where I am now. I've learned so much." She nodded, understanding, reflecting in her gaze. "We all carry our past with us, but it's how we choose to move forward that defines us." In that moment he felt a sense of closure regarding his past relationship. He had faced betrayal, but it had led him to a brighter path filled with possibilities. He realized he could love again without the shadows of his previous heartbreak holding him back. As they walked hand in hand, he felt the weight of the past lift completely. He was ready to embrace the future, to write a new story with someone who truly saw him for who he was. Together they ventured toward new adventures, their laughter mingling with the gentle breeze, the sunset behind them painting the sky with hues of hope. And in that serene moment he understood that sometimes endings pave the way for beautiful beginnings.